before you go to the comment section or say anything about the video title, I just want you to, if you have still some dopamine receptors that are still okay, can you just like, look, hey, let's talk, okay? Now we're gonna talk about something that matters every single person, which is God. Are we gods? I intentionally did this title to catch as many people's attention as possible because I know the people who are gonna click this video are the people who are uncertain, that they are not stabilized with their own faiths. These are the people who only follow religion from the perspective of culture and traditions rather than from the perspective of faith and believing in the one and the only itself. So if you feel that your faith is shaked off, you're not sure, you see many contradictions, you see like you're not sure if the Christianity or the Islam or the Sunni or the Shia, just bear with me in this video because every single thing that I just mentioned, I'm gonna talk about it and mention it in this video and then in the next video. So where did this video came out from? Where this idea of this video came up from? I was talking to my one of my friends, my relatives that I didn't see from a long time, and we were just talking about God. We were talking about Christianity, and I could tell that he was unsure why there's too much different religions and this stuff. And although the reason why it's shattered all over the place, like too much cultures and religions and all that crap, it has some big reasons that are from political things and like selfishness. But I believe that the thing that I'm gonna mention in this video are the soul things that will make you actually see from a place out of the truth. Are we gods? What the fuck does that mean? You know, like I don't know why even I chose this video title, and it's also the same time hard to give you an idea of what I'm gonna talk about. But just bear with me. Why Christians says that God created them in the form of His own image, or rather, they say that God created the human in His own image, and from this biblical verse, the conclusion that many people unfortunately made is that we are gods. But it really doesn't make sense. When God says in the Bible, He created the human in His own image, it doesn't mean that the human is actually God. Because it doesn't fucking make sense if there is multiple gods. It's just like having multiple presidents in the same country. It's gonna be chaos. And why Muslims think that what they said is kufr, or rather it's disobedient to God and all that crap, because they don't understand basically, and I do. Like humbly, I do understand why some Christians believe that they are gods, although God in the biblical verse didn't mean this. See, when God says that He created the human in His own image, what He meant is He created the creator, the perfect creator. He created His products in a perfect manner. That because let's be honest, you know, if Windows CEO, well, why he would fucking create products that are going to fail? You know, why he gonna create like, for example, devices that are just not good enough? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, the same thing if you applied it to the one who created. If we're supposed to that there is someone who created all that crap that we see this stimulation. What God meant in this biblical verse is that He created the human in a good manner without any things that are subtitle, you know? God created this thing and it is totally perfect. But some Christians and some of us as well, people like, I don't want to say Christian, this Buddhist, and this fucking gay person. I want to say like the human when he reads this verse from the Bible. Some of them says like, what the fuck, what's going on? Why did he's God and he creates multiple other gods? Is he weak? Is he needs support from other gods? And some of them, they're just fucking go atheists basically because they cannot explain what they cannot explain because they don't understand, and rather they should beat fight against that stream until they make a conclusion that is logical so they can rest in peace. The third group is people who are like me, who just said there is no way someone who gave us all this fucking informations from different books, from different cultures, from different places, one here and one here and one here, and in the end it will not make sense to us. It's not that what he says doesn't make sense, but it's our comprehension to it doesn't really make sense. Why? Because we still jack off in the fucking wall. So how do you think from the first day you're gonna read something that is holy, you're gonna understand it, you know? God in the Quran all the time says, understand the Quran. وَتَدَبَّرُوا فِي الْقُرْآنِ. He didn't say وَقْرَأُوا فِي الْقُرْآنِ, which is and read the Quran, or like eat the Quran. You know, it doesn't say this. He said تَدَبَّرُوا فِي الْقُرْآنِ. Understand the Quran. Fight with the Quran. Like, lift that weight that you feel until the failure. Just fight with this, because this is actually going to give you muscle. The same thing here, you know? But Muslims, majority of them, think that this is kufr, and that's the thing that gives this sort of contradiction, this like not getting along with Christians and vice versa, you know? I mean, sure, like the reason why the Quran was invented in 1400 years ago with the Prophet is because something went wrong, and it's not a mistake that God has made. That's why He gave the Quran, but it is because He wanted, because in our religion, in Islam, God created this life not only as a test but also as a proof that why some of us will go to hell and some of us go to heaven. Because before God created this earth, before God created the Prophet Adam, God will just basically take us as the souls that are encaged in this physical body, and some of them gonna put them in hell and heaven. And imagine yourself, God just puts you in hell and heaven, and you don't know why. You're gonna tell him like, just put me in this life, you know, and you're gonna agree with you. And He actually did in our book, and that's why we are here, you know, to understand why we do stuff, and to understand in the end of it why we should deserve what we deserve. Yeah. So most of Muslim people think that this is kufr, this is disobedient to God. God, like, this doesn't make sense. The problem is Muslim people, when they read this biblical verse, they think that the Christian people mean that God created human and human is God. So it doesn't fucking make sense. Just the contradiction between why God will give birth to a God, and this God will protect this God, and the Father going to protect the Son will protect, you know? It doesn't fucking make sense. It's a paradox that doesn't fucking make sense. And when you're going to discuss with the Christian people this thing, they're going to say, yeah, Jesus loves you, you know? Like, it doesn't fucking make sense, bro. It's like, I don't want to give examples here, you know? With all my respect to Christian people, but this one doesn't fucking make sense, yeah? But the thing is, in Islam, in the Quran, God Himself says something that is similar to this. Yeah, in the Quran, God says that, like, I don't remember the verse exactly. Like, I'm gonna try to remember it. In Arabic, it says, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رَوْحِي. I don't remember the exact verse. Like, I don't remember the exact verse. I didn't write it down. But God says that He breathed through the human spirit. So which means He gave it a fragment of His own thing to the human body, to the Prophet Adam. And this thing gives to this thing, like a domino, until we are here and we realize this thing. And alongside with this information that God has blew air through our soul in a realistic way, He gave us some fragments of His into us. there was another verse alongside with it that I remember exactly, but basically it said, and when we gave him some of our thing to the human, we commanded all the other creations to prostrate to Prophet Adam, you know, to prostrate to the Prophet Adam, not to worship him, but to prostrate him. Why? Because as the Bible says, we created the human in our image. In our, God says the word our, nahnu, our, because God, you cannot like classify him in one thing or in a cup. He's like everything, you know. So he says nahnu as a, you know, in the Bible, like it's not nahnu in Arabic, but us. He says us, yeah. And what does that mean is like you gotta ask yourself this question: what is this thing that God specifically has given to us? Like you cannot just tell me He gave me a small bite of this thing. Like what is it exactly? And it is willpower. The reason why God commanded the other creations to prostrate to the Prophet Adam is because the human is the only creation that has the willpower, just like God has. This is the only thing that is common between us and God is the willpower to choose, the freedom to choose. Yeah? Animals, they cannot choose, but it is based on their biological needs that they choose what they choose, not because they think what they want, but it is because of their biological stuff. The devils, the jinn, they don't have also this thing of the freedom to choose. They are basically jinn, and they do the jinn what and they do what the jinn does, you know. The angels also, um the angels themselves, wait, hold on. I didn't create a YouTube video for a long time, like I lose all my skills. Yeah, I should probably create a better script to explain my stuff. I'm gonna turn off PC. Turn. Oh, come on, bro. Okay. The reason why God commanded the other creations to prostrate to the Prophet Adam is because the Prophet Adam has some fragments of God's spirits, which is the power to choose. And the reason why also God commanded the other creations to prostrate to the Prophet Adam, because he's a human, not only because out of respect, because God has gave something, He blew His soul to the human soul, some fragment of it, but also because when the human chooses to do good, he surpasses angels in their doing good, and when he chooses to do bad, he surpasses the jinn and the evils, devils in the bad things they do. You know, so it's a matter of choosing. That's why some of humans go to hell and the other go to heaven. And look, you're gonna say like, "Oh, bro, what do you mean, bro? What do you mean? Like, God is not a fucking math teacher, bro. You know, it's not like a math teacher. What does a math teacher does? If he told you tomorrow to bring his fucking homework tomorrow, and you didn't bring them, he gonna beat your ass up directly. You know, he won't give a fuck about your circumstances, about your feelings, about your thing, about whatever. You know, God, in the other hand, is God. He doesn't. He's not living somewhere. You know, he's not living somewhere in another multi. You know, he's within us. Yeah, he's within us. This small fragment is within us as well, which is the third thing. That's why God is called the Sami al-Alim, the one who hears all the things and knows everything. You know, he knows how you feel. He knows what do you think about him. He knows your desire to understand him. You know, and that's all that matters. You know. Well, it's not that's all what matters and don't work so hard. You know, you gotta fucking push. You know, but at the same time, don't lose faith. Don't lose that hope, that no matter what you do, because of the things that you did, you're gonna just end up in hell. It's all based on your intentions. And God created products. He's perfect. But you're gonna say if he's perfect and created products, then the product should be perfect. But it's not really, no. If he gonna created perfect products that doesn't make mistakes, then he created just another God like him. Because he's God and can create everything. So we will create another God if we suppose that he created us in a perfect way. But the perfect way that he created us is not in us being perfect, but in us desiring to be perfect. Yeah? And we'll never reach the perfection of God, but that desire, that fire. And you're gonna say like it's a suffering, bro. Why I'm gonna choose every single time to be perfect. But keep in mind that God has created also some chemical, like brain chemical stuff that encourages you to be perfect as well, like such as dopamine, serotonin. Whenever time you achieve something new, whenever time you sort of unlock a new baseline, unlock a new milestone, when you set a goal and you achieve it. Yeah. So that's why the perfection that God has given to us, it's like a radar. Radar when the missiles in the world wars they use. It corrects its path through negative trials. The same thing here. And that's why God in the Quran has says, and I blew a fragment of me into his soul. And that's why the human should be prostrated, not worshipped by the other creators. Because he's a picture of God in the human form. That doesn't mean that he's God, but that means that he has a fragment of it. That doesn't mean either that he's a son of God. It's not like I gave a son and you're gonna say, oh, this looks like you if I'm his son, if I'm his dad. I don't mean this, but I mean is it's not a relationship between a God, a father and a son. It's a relationship between a creator and the creation. Not in the biological way of this physical world, but in a more enhanced way that is close at the same time. It's not comparable because it can never be the same level, and that's what I mean. And that's why they prostrate to the prophet Adam. But the devil, like I don't want to talk about this part, but the devil don't want to. Yeah. And I think that's like it's fucked up, to be honest. Like the script is pretty fucked up, but I hope the thing that I wanted to give is understandable. Some Muslims think that Christians are wrong and vice versa, but really, if we put ourselves in their shoes, we can understand them. That doesn't mean we should agree with them. It means that we should understand them. Allah says, "Aysawi alladhina ya'lamun walladhina la ya'lamun." Those the people who know are equivalent to the people who don't know. When you know and you try to convince someone to whatever religion you think that is right, you should put yourself first in his shoes so you understand what he thinks about the thing that makes us or you and him in a conflict. You know? That's the sole reason. Like, it's not. Fuck hell. Like, it's not about choosing the right religion, bro. It's not. I don't mean that whatever religion you pick, just pick it and be good with people and just don't jerk off or be a jerk with people. That's not what I mean. I mean, just like use this, bro. Use your mind. Talk from your mind, not from your tongue. When you talk to, like, when you try to fucking debate with people, it's not like debating about who's better in front of your father, bro. Like all these things that we going through are like, I don't want to go so deep into this stuff. I think this is pretty enough for the video. Yeah, like, so the question was why Christians believe that they are God. And it's not that they really God, it's what do you think that they believe? Because you never had the chance to talk with the Christian people. Because if you did, you will end up with them in a conflict. You will fight with them. Because you think you are the fucking superior, you're a prophet from God. You think, like, I'm not like disinhibiting you. Be your best, in worshiping God. But also don't forget the most important thing. that praying to God has many ways and forms. I don't mean by my words that you should classify some and declassify declassify some other. What I mean is be logic, bro. God is logic, you know? So when you read something, you read it logically, read it through your mind, not from your tongue. Try to understand it because God in the Quran has never said Iqra, the Quran. Sure, in Surah Iqra, he says Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. But when reading the Quran, you should not merely Iqra, you know? You should understand, tadabbar, you know? Tadabbar. And likewise with people, don't try just to talk or to debate. Try to understand. Try to use this while doing everything in your mind. Try to be mindful. Because that's what actually makes people, I don't say love you, but that's what makes people close to truth, you know? And everything makes sense. So that's what really Christian people meant when they say in the verse, we are God because God created in our image. It's not really. It's not really that they think they are God, not in our own version of the same thing that Christian does say, like ونفخت فيه من روحي استغفر الله. I don't remember the exact verse. I should write it down here, but that's what I mean. Because I wouldn't fucking go to this conclusion if I don't turn on this, bro. If I don't talk from my mind, not from my tongue, I don't get into this conclusion, bro. I bet you to find some fucking people who have fucking long beards that talk about this crap, that talk about this confliction, bro. Why? Because they want us divided, bro. If we are together, you know, like I don't wanna say who's the enemy really is, you know, because you know I don't wanna. I'm still young to talk about this stuff, you know, but really just try. If everyone just minded his own business and tried to be better, it's accumulated stuff, you know. So yeah, like I might be wrong in this video. I might said some bullshit that you might not agree on because it's new to you, or you might not agree with because it doesn't make sense to you because maybe you more advanced than me. If you think I said some bullshit that I that you think that I'm not right or wrong with it, just say in the comments. And maybe if I'm wrong and you don't have the balls to say something to me, I ask God to forget me because all what I'm trying to is just to understand who really God is. Because it doesn't fucking make sense that this life is written, is created by no creator, you know? Like, I don't want to give you the example that if you go to the barber, then we're gonna give you a haircut, then there should be a creator. Like, I don't want to go into this basic examples, but really, the fact that human gives he's suffering a meaning so he can somewhat diminish the pain that comes from the truth, from the hard reality. It's by itself a conclusion that there was someone who's good, who's caring about us, that he knew if it was slightly altered, then we would suffer more, you know? Like, if we don't give meaning to the stuff, to the bad stuff that happens to us, for example, your girlfriend broke up with you, yeah, maybe God has better plans for me, or your business didn't work for you, maybe God has plans for me. Like, just the mere facts that you give meaning to it without actually thinking about it, without actually consciously choosing to give it meaning, and it is just a matter of biology that you just, not you, but your mechanism, your organism, that he is the one who's doing the work. It's a matter of there is some creator, there is something who created all that crap, you know, and he's never forgotten us, you know. Many religious people, like I don't blame them either. They think that God has forgotten us, you know, the wars happening, this shit happening, this happening, but I think it just takes more, you know. I think I reached my end. I don't really have the energy to talk about this stuff because if I'm going to talk, I'm going to talk about many things that it's gonna take me fucking 6 hours, you know. But I just tried to do something good this time, maybe to just help people understand who really God is. Not only that, but also to not be not together, to not be like someone is there, someone is here, we are like separated, you know? I'm not like trying to do like peace and love, we should love everybody, it's okay to be different, it's okay to be gay. Like I'm not trying to do that. I really don't. Like I don't want like this shit is gay, bro. I don't want to do that, you know. But what I'm trying to do is we should understand each other, you know. Not to say he got fucked by his uncle, that's why he's angry all the time. Like I don't want to say this respectfully, respect to the people who went through some bad experiences. But what I'm trying to say is just be logical, bro. Just like I don't like don't pick any religion. Just try to be logical, bro. The fact that you're gonna become logical, you're gonna try to become logical to think with your mind. You're gonna be more akin to understand that there is really something that is wrong, not with the religion, but ourselves, with the system that we are going through. You know. So yeah, this is the video of today. I'm just gonna write down another YouTube ID that I just had here. And yeah, I'm gonna end up this video. So yeah, I hope you understand something out of it. Thank you.